Hey there, it's Brooke Nevin, and you're listening to. Wait, what is it? What do you?
It's called hashtag Afterlife.
I know, but I was doing like a weird voice.
You were. That was strange.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, I think that's exactly how we got to start.
All right.
3, 2, 1. We are sitting down with the amazing Brooke Nevin. This is really exciting.
Hi, John. I'm so excited to be here. I feel like we haven't had a chance to just talk.
We were together a lot pre-pandemic.
Yes, we were.
And then the pandemic
Kind of threw
everything off.
Yeah.
I literally saw someone, I coached someone yesterday who was in my class the day that we stopped class on March 15th, 2000.
I feel like we were all going to have that moment. Like, where were you? Do you remember where you were when?
But he came in and he's like, so what's been going on? And I said, but he really wanted, I was like, I can't do that.
Yeah, there's so much to cover.
I'm like, but
do
he
you
really,
have 5 hours?
But it was very odd. It's like, I think he really wanted an answer. So what's happened?
Yeah, well.
I was like, man, we got to coach this thing. And I go, that's for another time.
Yes.
And it's also so triggering. I have so many emotions built into that.
Yeah.
But that was one of the saddest parts of me, that I didn't get to hang with you.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly was busy during that time.
Yeah, you were.
I was. I probably was the busiest on camera than I'd been in years. And
No, you mean right previous to it? Or
during the pandemic.
How?
I'll tell you how.
Thank
John.
you. How? Okay.
So, you know, I remember when everything slowed down, of course, I was here in Los Angeles, and my partner was working on a show. They were one of the last shows to. They went as long as they could. Oh no, I'm getting this mixed up with the strike now. Okay, because all the things have happened.
Yes.
But no, so everything shut down. We were in LA, and you know, I do have the benefit of being also a Canadian citizen, and so I made the decision to pack up and do that 2-week. I had to do a 2-week quarantine and stayed in Vancouver, and then lived with my mom and my little sister for 6 months, and was able to garner work up in Canada as an actor and a director.
Canada was not as shut down?
So by June, production was back up again with like very strict protocols. But
right, there was a big thing that if you wanted to go to Canada, you had to go through this entire didn't you have
you had to do a quarantine for 2 weeks, and it was like monitored by the government, and you had to So
I think I did talk to you during the quarantine at one point, like we did Zoom or something.
Yeah, me and my dog went up, and I think I did do some classes.
You did during the quarantine. Yeah. That's right. It is 5 years ago. People seem to forget that. That is 5 years ago.
It's totally wild. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Wow. You have worked a lot.
I have.
You have worked a lot.
Over the course of many years.
But you are like one of those actors where people see you and be like, I'm sure you get this. I know you.
Yeah.
You're the I know you.
Yes.
You know? Do you get and you're like not everyone's gonna know the name Brooke Nevin.
Nope.
But they know you. And how often does that happen to you? Is it the look? Is it the something? Is it the what do I know you from?
It's a what do I know you from?
You'd be part of the documentary.
Yes. The documentary of
like the woman from that thing. I know her from that thing. I know him from that thing. There's so many actors that have worked like all this who made their living.
Just kind of popping up on your living room screen.
Yeah.
Again. I would say, especially around Christmas time, I've got a couple of Hallmark movies that play on repeat, which is great.
Okay.
But a lot of people, and it's met with such warmth. Like, it's really lovely when people say, "Oh, we watch Hallmark around the holidays," and so it's a really nice warm feeling when people recognize me, because it is usually from Hallmark.
Do you ever have to explain it?
I do.
Or
sometimes
you do
I have a couple of like in my back pocket, like, is it this or that? And if it's one of those, it's normally one of those three.
I had someone walk up to me, I think it was at the airport, and they're like, man, you were so great. And they just started talking to me, and I'm really hearing them. I'm 95% certain they thought I was David Cross.
Oh.
And I I just let them think.
I can see it now, but your energy
No,
is just so,
so
different,
different.
that I.
But they really were so complimentary, and they started mentioning certain things. I was like, yeah, I think I'm David Cross. And I'm kind of like, well, it's very nice to meet you. And
We just gave them a nice experience.
I did.
Now they feel like they met David Cross, and he was a really pleasant, cool dude.
But they are going to go back and see David Cross and realize that's
Wait a
not
second.
him at all. But it's such a phenomenon. But I'm, it's really great to experience you, and it's such an interesting thing to experience you because you are. I'm sure you surprised people a lot with like who they are, because I'm sure there's an expectation that someone might have of you, and then you reveal who you are, and you are obviously extraordinarily talented, but you are you're very cerebral.
Yes.
Yes, and your brain goes. You are. It's not surprising that you're intelligent, but the way your brain works is, you're a very intellectual being.
Yes,
Who's
thank
really hungry for knowledge.
Yes.
And I'm sure sometimes people are like, okay, wait, hold on, I have to adjust my expectation of what I'm getting right now. And and your partner is someone who is equally.
Yes, cerebral, but that's not. He doesn't lead with that, though. No. He leads with connection and humor, and then he has.
Then you discover
sneaky
that
smart
as well.
voices. Yeah.
And then he uses more polysyllabic words than anybody I've ever met in my entire life.
Yeah.
How do you think that part of you kind of how did that work when you first came here?
That's a great question. I think that part of me has always been something that's been an asset, but also something to maybe contend with when it comes to process.
Yeah.
When it comes to creating characters, that cerebral part comes in the ways that I love to do research. I love to, just surround myself in the world of a character, whether she has expertise or if she has like a mental affliction or whatever it is. And I'm not going to say to detriment. I mean, it fills me up and gives me a lot of information that I feel like I can like grab as pieces of information or as my own sort of secrets when I show up on set. But I can say that when it comes to it being a detriment, I can use that to fill me up, but forgetting that a scene, though, is also just about connecting, right? It's in real time. So that's great that you have all this information floating around in your head and that you've done all this research. But at the end of the day, it's about stakes. It's about, what's happening in the scene, where the power dynamic is shifting, all of those things that I have to also remember when it comes to showing up and doing the work.
Yeah. Do you ever find, because I do think of you as someone with such high standards.
Yes.
But not only just high standards, but I think of you as having someone with a real ingrained morality and an idea of how you want the world to be.
Yeah.
And roles that you're proud of playing and versus roles that you're not proud of playing.
Yeah.
So how did that affect? Like when you get something coming in, you're like, I don't want to play this type of character.
Yes, yeah.
I know that has to have happened to you.
I think it was a lot harder to do when I first got to Hollywood.
That's-
I remember.
Oh, and you came here in 2004, where it was all. I mean,
Well, especially, I was young, I was blonde. There were a lot of roles that. I will say the great thing about my representation, I've actually had them for my agent, anyways. She's been my agent for the entirety of my time here in Los Angeles, so over 20 years. And what I love about my reps is that I have never been, shoehorned into one area in terms of genre, in terms of types of roles. I've, played comedy, drama. My agent feels like, oh, Brooke can do it all, which has I've had a really lovely variety. There have been times when I was younger that it felt hard to say no to certain things, but I remember going into audition rooms and just wanting to crawl out of my skin because it just didn't feel like a good fit for me. And a lot of those discussions too, where it's felt less now for some reason, but like nudity was an issue when I first got in terms of saying yes or no to this part requires nudity. Like that was a much bigger, just I don't know, factor when I was younger.
I mean,
It felt like you were an actor who does nudity,
or
you
you're
were
not an actor who does nudity.
right? And for me, I've only done a little backside nudity, which felt playful and fun at the time.
Yeah.
But I just mean in that where the morality
Well,
comes in,
I-
it was always
but-
a discussion about
Well,
whether,
back then there was a lot of gratuitous
Yes.
boobs.
Yes.
Just because it was you don't see that much anymore.
you not in the same way.
No, I mean usually it's a little more tasteful. I mean, I remember a client years ago. That was her lane.
Sure.
That was her lane.
Yes.
But she also was supposed to. There was this really funny part, which ended up being really good.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like having sex on a copier or something like that. She's just like, I just don't want to do it. She's like, what do you think?
Oh, which is such a.
And it's
I
such
think
a hard
when you're
thing. And I said, listen, it's not my job to say what I
Exactly.
think. It's
Yeah.
not my job to think.
No.
And I said, I think it's a funny part. I don't think this would hurt your career.
Right.
I think it's a really funny scene.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the boobs would be the star of the scene. I think the activity is the star of the
but
star of the scene.
it also depends how they choose to shoot it. It
100%.
depends, like how the editor, like you don't have control over that unless it's a really, really in-depth nudity writer in which those things can be.
Yeah,
put in,
and
but-
is it really in service? But we are living in a completely different time. But when you say that, I can imagine you being so. And you did not go to university. You did, or you didn't?
I did not. I
How
applied
did you come
to,
out?
Well, so I applied to all the universities. I got into film school in Toronto and another communications program, and I was like, I'm going to take my year and see if I can make it in Hollywood and defer, and then I'll go back.
A year. I'm going to go a year.
I got 1 year
I
to
got
make
1
it in
year, and I'm
Hollywood.
going to make it.
Yeah. And kudos to my mother for letting her daughter, spread her wings. She was kind of like, I mean, look, I grew up in Toronto, right, which was its own milieu of production. There was a lot going on. It was Hollywood North. I think a lot of that shifted to Vancouver too, but Toronto's still a robust production city. And so it's not like there weren't opportunities in Toronto, but my mom was like, if you're going to be an actor, then you're going to go to Hollywood.
Your mother said this.
Yes!
Wow. And that's far away.
It is. It
It's
was.
very far
and as
away.
a young, I was 20, and I came out here and I didn't really know anyone. I had one former castmate from a kids show I did who was also staying at this place called the Highland Gardens, but we weren't we knew each other. We'd done a show together, but we weren't really close friends. So I pretty much came out on my own, which I still I don't know. I have such sort of reverence and gratitude for that young, starry-eyed.
I have a difficult
version of
time
myself.
imagining what you were like at 20.
Wide-eyed.
Were you
optimistic.
wide-eyed? Were you wide-eyed?
Am I not wide-eyed anymore?
Well, you are, but I just with that amazing brain of yours, I'm just trying to imagine what it's like. I don't imagine. It's not that wide-eyed. Yes, innocent. No.
Oh, so innocent.
So
Oh
innocent.
my God. Yes. I couldn't even say the word fuck as a 20-year-old.
Really?
No.
But
If
I
it was
also
on a
imagine you were still very discerning.
Very discerning.
You were
yes.
very discerning. It's hard because sometimes you think of wide-eyed and you think gullible, and I don't think of you ever
No.
being that.
No. That is a good distinction. Optimistic and discerning is probably two
That's
really
good, but
great.
that's smart. That's you can smell out the intuitively just know don't go in that direction.
Honestly, I think my little, spidey senses have always served me well, even though my partner now would say, you didn't notice, that energy and that. And I was like, no, because I'm with you. That's your job now.
Right. But what was your internal story when you came out here? Were you like, this is going to go well, this is going to work? What was your expectation of how it would all play out?
That's a very good
Because I'm looking at you now. Right now, God, you're not only have you worked a lot, but you're now a mom.
Yes.
Which you did not rush into,
No.
which is very smart. You've directed now.
Mm-hmm.
You're produced. You're writing. You're doing all the things. But when you come in here, there's usually an expectation of what, even if
Yes.
it's unclear, an idea of this is how I think it's going to go.
Yeah. I will say I was gifted with a lot of experience already when I landed, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't like come off the bus and I was like the lead actor in my high school play. I had already starred on a series that was, was on Nickelodeon, that had, been shown around the world. I already had like a little bit of a fan base and some like real on-set experience. And I also, because I got cast so early in guest star and series regular work, my expectation in my head was like, oh, well, I'll just do more guest stars and series regulars. Like, that's my slot. That's where I belong. So that was really empowering. And I also had a firm pragmatism coming out here. I was like, well, I'm going to come out. And at the time, those casting director workshops were bountiful. They were everywhere. But it was a really great opportunity for me to like, okay, I've got you remember, oh gosh, was it Samuel? The
Samuel French?
Samuel French, right?
Yeah.
They had those little like ring mini binders for those casting director workshops. So I got my little book, and you write in the date and the casting director you saw and their pieces of advice, and whether or not I left a headshot with them, and what shows they were casting at the time, and what other like shows that I needed to watch to be aware of.
Yeah.
And at least twice a week I would go and do my work, and that's how I ended up meeting somebody who put me in touch with my representation. But I had a very sort of like, I'm going to be a student of Hollywood. I'm going to come here and figure out how to meet the right people to get my face in front of casting directors and that whole bit. Yeah.
You just had that mindset.
I did. Mm-hmm.
You know what's fascinating? This has just been on my mind a lot lately,
Okay.
because I know that you don't have to go to acting class to be a great actor, but like most of the actors who are great who've never gone to acting class have just been working.
Yes.
But there are a lot of people who've been on set since they were kids,
Yeah.
who are not great actors,
Right.
because
They never worked on process, or
they never worked on process.
Your instrument changes.
They weren't a student on set.
Right. Yes.
But when you're a student, like, God, what's his name? Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah, Daniel Radcliffe.
One of my actors was a writer on his show, and he just said that Daniel Radcliffe would go on into the writer's room, and he's like, I'm just here to learn. And he would just be the most generous learner in the entire world. And, I mean, that's a boy that became a lovely actor just from being like, I want to know the lens.
Right.
I want to know what's happening. I want to know how you execute that.
I remember even when I was 15 doing this Nickelodeon show, the editing suites were in the production office that was on this like makeshift studio in an abandoned like beer factory, of course.
Yeah.
In Canada. That's
Of course.
where we shoot our TV shows.
Gotta have a
But I remember wanting, once I was done with my homework and my on-set teacher, just sitting in the editing bay, watching them piece together a show. Because I was curious about it.
Were you the one who said to your mom, I want to be acting?
I was, yeah.
Okay.
And it was in fits and starts. I had like a non-start when I was like 7.
Okay.
Where I like crashed a Rice Krispies commercial. Anyways. And then that like fizzled out. And then by the time I was 12, 13, I was like, Mom, I'm getting too old. Like
You're going for the hill
I'm
already.
never going to be able to break in if...
And the Nickelodeon show. So you were on that for how long?
It was 2 seasons.
For 2 seasons. And that must have been an extraordinary learning experience.
Yeah, it was wonderful. It's
And that's
so
shot
funny.
in Toronto?
It's shot in Toronto. I've been watching it back only because I am going to be interviewed in a book about it, and it's so funny to watch my 15-year-old self acting, because there was not really process then. Like I went to some acting classes, but I didn't have an on-set coach. Like
but you're all impulse.
Yeah, but also impulse. But I would say that my evolution as a human being, as an adult, as an actor, has been to keep removing these layers of propriety.
Mm.
And so I see that in my 15-year-old self. I say, oh, that's the version of her who thinks that, like, she needs to present in this way, or, like, who's never accessed her anger. Mm. Like, there's certain things that I see myself and, Those
are more, they're easily disguised when you're younger because, yes, you have the propriety, you have your idea of how it's supposed to be, but there's still such a direct connection between instinct and mouth
Yeah.
to where it's not as polluted yet.
Yep.
To where we're like, oh, that's really lovely. Oh, that's fascinating. So then you came out here with that. You got your reps.
Yes.
And then how quickly before you were getting into rooms?
I would say it was within 6 months that I had representation.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I think I booked my first job within 7 or 8 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then it was starting to go according to plan.
Yeah.
And then just rinse and repeat.
Pretty much.
And then the hardest thing was now you're in LA and then you had to build a life.
Building a life, yeah. And some of the technical aspects of like making sure I had working papers and all of that sort of thing, right? Which was like a constant thing until, now I'm a citizen. But that was always a part of the process as well, just to make sure that I could legally work here and get work.
And how did you build a life here? I think there's so many people who want to coming here
Yeah.
and just like it's just this mystery of
Yes.
like what is life like here.
Yeah.
I think this is I think LA is a pretty extraordinary city in some ways, but I think it's a terrible city for someone
It
that
can
doesn't.
be, absolutely.
If you don't have the community, if you don't have a base,
Yes.
it's I'd say overwhelming.
It can be. I do remember, as a young adult, not ever feeling like lost, but certainly, homesick in the ways that I didn't have family and friends that were close enough to hug me. Like sometimes, and I remembered that during the pandemic again, because that was something we couldn't do. And then I was at work in quarantine, like in the ways that I remember, that's that same feeling like when I first moved to LA, like I didn't get my hug quota in a week. And that can, that sort of thing was such a tender but real aspect of like moving to a new city when you're a young person and you don't have your core group of friends and family.
Where did you get it?
Well, I mean, it was kind of like my version of a college dorm experience in that there were a lot of young aspiring musicians and artists and actors that were living at this Oakwood Apartments janky version. And so I made friends quickly.
Okay.
And then also as a young adult, it was the process of like making friends, but then letting go of friends. Like when you realize, oh, this person is not healthy for me. And so I'm going to have to do the friend phase out. Like a little light ghosting, a little light, like, okay, I've got to find my new people. And a huge part of that was being in class. A huge part of that for me was auditioning. Like, I remember one of my great friends, Amanda Walsh. We met each other testing for Smallville. And we were the two blondes that got let go. And we were in the elevator. And I'm like, do you need a ride back to your hotel? But in the ways that I would meet a lot of friends auditioning, honestly. Other aspiring actors that we had a lot in common, and then we would just hang out.
I love Amanda Walsh.
I do too.
I love her so much. There is a big curating your friend group when you come to LA.
It's necessary.
Very necessary. Well, you don't always know. At one point, you start hanging out, and then you just realize, okay, I'm getting enabled by this person, or this is just I'm.
Right. It's not good for.
I
my
feel like I'm
energy.
co-signing on something very bad.
Right.
Yeah. So what year did you meet Michael?
I met Michael. We were doing Second City together in class. So I met him when he stepped into I volunteered for a sketch, and he stepped into the circle and was like, I want to follow that blonde girl. And then we did a sketch show together. Got cast in a sketch show. We were friends for a long time.
Okay. And that was it?
And that was the beginning.
So what were... in this thing, we all have those moments where, we are on the precipice. We're on the precipice. Mm-hmm. What was your I'm right there. I'm right there. This is, because often
this is going to be the one, or this is the...
I remember I tested for the movie I, Robot. Mm-hmm. And it was going to be on set with Will Smith for half a year.
Yeah.
And I didn't thrive in the test. I was fine, but it was even though I didn't know it, it really was a blow spiritually when I did not live up to my ambition or my expectation. The acting was fine. It was
Yes.
everything else around it.
Gotcha.
You know
I
what
mean,
I mean?
I can speak a lot to testing. I probably have tested well over 50 times for projects.
50 times.
Well over. I mean, there was one pilot season I tested 10 times.
10
So
times.
that's 10 times where you get a participation award.
It is. People think that, I just want to say for everybody, people think that testing, like, God, I wish I just tested more. You're like, no, well, wait, hold on.
also
No,
wanna get
you
the
want to get
job.
the job.
Yeah.
And testing 10 times and not getting one is actually more deflating.
Yeah. I have a very I'm pretty fucking resilient.
You are resilient. So how did you deal with those 10 times?
You know, you deal with it 10 times by knowing that you've done everything in your power to show up and do the work and be there. Now, if I go back in time, could I say, oh, maybe I wish I'd coached on that, or maybe if I'd, not shown up a little flustered because I was running late, which happened just a couple of times, not many, but take Fountain. I think it was the relinquishing of control, because you know that once you get to the point where you're in front of that many executives and it's between you and Jennifer Lawrence to play the daughter on Hope and Faith.
Yeah. Hope and Faith. Oh, my God.
Right?
Oh, my God.
You know that when it's between you and Jenna Malone to star in a Zack Snyder movie that nobody ended up really seeing.
Yeah.
It's between when you're getting to test with Nancy Meyers for It's Complicated, and you're having, chemistry tests with, and you're flown to New York City. Like, what else can you do? Like, you've gotten to that point. And so then it becomes just other people's decisions that sometimes are based on your talent, and sometimes are based on so many other things that are just completely beyond your control. And so I think I've done a pretty good job of cycling through the disappointment, and then knowing, okay, but there's something else that's around the bend, like something else is going to come.
You have a gene that I was not born with. I wouldn't say I'm not resilient, but the darkness I would experience.
Sure, it's true. I've dipped. I've had times of depression in my life, etc. But it's true. I don't have it.
But I think this is where I always felt a connection to you, and I think I always intuitively felt like I need to be living in a creative space. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What is living
meaning
in a creative space
I have a lot
mean
to offer. I have a lot
Yes.
to offer. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
yeah.
And I think that's when opportunities. I don't think I've ever had opportunities like you did. Like you tested 10 times in one season. Yeah. But when you're sitting idly by, that's what got me into teaching. Was like I didn't know how to just wait.
Well, honestly, that's what got me into directing as well.
I know, but that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Is that for you? I always you're such a creative being,
Mm-hmm.
and it never felt like waiting for that next opportunity was going to be enough to satisfy your brain.
No.
Your brain needs to be you need to apply.
Yeah.
The way you're working, you need to apply it to different things, and you always had a real curiosity. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I think you were aided by the fact that you don't go as dark as some people.
Right. So you can get into a productive mode instead of a
darkness is very it makes you feel like you're doing a lot, but you're not really doing anything other than feeling.
Right.
And so then you got so now how did the directing materialize?
Well, that materialized for a lot of interesting little signs too. If we rewind, I got into a film program for directing. That's what I would have been focusing on had I gone to university.
Right.
And then it took me a while to own that part of my creativity. I kind of, for so many years and after in Hollywood, it took me a while to get back to a place where but I can tell stories too.
To
not
own
just
it, do you mean feel qualified to do it?
Mm-hmm. Permission. giving myself permission and that I have something to say or that I can create in that way. So, and part of it was being in class and being in positions, whether it was like writing scenes for fellow classmates,
Yeah.
or even, you know, sometimes in the way, especially in our cohort where, you know, even you asking and turning to me sometimes saying, hey, Brooke, what do you think? You know, that was a huge part of exercising, my opinion's valued here in this space. Like that's the seed of beginning to notice when that happens more and more. So even in other classes, like, okay, we're gonna run this class like an audition, and Brooke, you play the director, and you know, so and then giving, you know, classmates adjustments, and somebody saying, hey, do you like, is that what you do? Do you direct?
Right.
But having people remind me like, oh yeah. And then I submitted a pitch to Hallmark, and it you know, development process takes a long time, but it got made. So, and then working with one of the EPs saying, you'd be a great director,
Yeah.
you know, the way that you have a very holistic view of story and all of the elements that need to come into play. And so it was a slow but steady dawning on me that like, oh yes, I can say yes to this part of my brain again.
Yeah.
And then saying it out loud, like, I want to be a director. And so I was able to shadow on a freeform show on network TV, which was phenomenal and such a integral process. And then I did I did one of those Lifetime movies. It's like a 12-day shoot, and with a company that sort of like was like a factory for those movies. And because I said, I'm shadowing, I'm going to be a director, the EP on that, because I was so invested in our little shoot, was like, well, why don't you shadow on the next couple movies?
Yeah.
And so I said, yes, absolutely, and showed up every day like it was my job. And then they gave me a script 2 movies later. It's a very unconventional way. Like, I hadn't done any short films, or I was like, yes, I am going to get paid to learn how to direct, and I'm going to do a fucking amazing job.
Yeah. And the experience was
challenging, was the most I'd ever grown creatively in a short amount of time. And when I submitted my movie cut to that same producer, he's like, this is the best director's cut we've gotten in a long time. It was my first movie.
That's really impressive. Now, who, while shooting, was your biggest mentor? Because I'm sure you needed.
Yes.
Was it the DP that you worked well with? Anybody that was helping fill the gaps that maybe you didn't have the experience?
I had a woman that had directed me in the movie with that same company ahead of time. Her name's Lisa France, and she's gone on to direct a bunch of network TV. But she was such a mensch in terms of like wanting to support other women in the business and being so generous with her, with all of her directing notes and her shot lists and how to create a shot list. She was so generous in how much of her process that she was willing to share, and even connecting me with her editor then as well to get that side of the process, to prep myself like, well, what does an editor need before I start shooting to make sure that I'm getting everything that I need for this particular lane. Like, it's such a specific type of movie, type of shoot.
Yeah.
Not as much support as you would get on a network TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems, I don't know, that to me this all goes back to your level of like curiosity and being a student and all of that. And even getting into teaching for me, it was very similar to you when it came to you directing. You know, I'd be saying some stuff and then someone would go, I really like, you should do this. And I'm like, no. And I thought it was, even when I was in graduate school,
Interesting.
In my second year of grad school, one of the ways that you pay your way through grad school is you teach undergrad.
Okay.
And the head of my program came up to me after seeing me teach a class, and he said to me, you've got something.
Yeah.
You should do this. And I'm like, And I was like, fuck you, man.
Because you're not ready to hear it.
No,
You're not
I
ready to
didn't
be in
want
a place to
fucking
take
hear
that in.
No, I
Right.
felt it was an insult. I thought they were saying like, "Well, you're saying I shouldn't act?" And he's like, "No, I'm just saying that this is yeah." But I was 23.
Yeah.
I'm like, how dare you? And I don't think I was actually a good teacher. I think I was just good at connecting or just seeing a human,
Right.
and being like, "Oh, I'm seeing a little wall here. Let's talk about this wall."
Right.
Just addressing what I saw. There was
Sure.
no actual. I was just parroting what I was learning in school and applying it. So I didn't have any. I can't believe they were learning from me, but I could at least be a person. But I don't think, and then when I did, even years later, I still didn't even think about it. And then in class, and someone said, you should. But I think there's a certain level of something that's healthy that you're not walking around going, I should. No, we're walking around going,
Oh, there's a sign.
or a sign, or then all of a sudden, because you don't walk around thinking I have all this wisdom to offer.
No,
you're walking around just thinking I'm in my own brain, and then you're like, oh, someone wants to hear what I have to say.
Like, this is useful.
Yeah, this is useful. Oh, okay. Well, I have a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's useful, and then someone's useful to someone. You're like, oh, okay. And as far as you, that's one of the reasons when people still don't understand sometimes where I'm like, what do you think in class? Sometimes people think I'm testing them.
Oh,
and I'm
I never felt that.
I know. No, of course not.
But yes.
I am trying to hear what's going on in your brain. How are you seeing things?
Right.
I just want to know how you're seeing things.
Yeah, how your brain's working, how you're...
Right. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes I'll say, if I'll hear something and they're saying they're what they're seeing, I'm like, that's not... Let's help you see, or let's help you articulate what you're saying, or like really think about the why. Maybe you're just seeing the symptom of the problem. Let's think about what the actual problem is. But then you do that, you're like, oh, and you always had so many wonderful... I mean, that was a class.
It was a great class.
And Jeanette, and John Beavers, and Graham Outerbridge, and Chloe Webber. I mean, all these brains.
It felt like a privilege to get to go and do scenes with everyone.
Whew, there was oh wow. Yeah. I mean, sometimes people really fought to be heard. It was like, guys, I remember, guys, shut up.
Yeah.
But that's really exciting when people are excited to express what they want to hear. But I guess that's where you got to get to when you're directing. Like, there's a story that you're like, there's a story we need to tell right here.
Yeah.
You need to advocate.
Yes.
But also, I would love you to speak to this. I think there are people who think, I should get in directing, but I don't know what I'm doing. Right?
Well, you have to know what you're doing.
You have to know what you're doing, but sometimes you don't even know how much you know until you start doing it.
Oh, yeah. I knew that the directing would be a process of unfurling all the stuff that I didn't even know that I didn't know.
Yeah.
You know, there's a huge quadrant of that. At least I'd had some experience just visually in terms of like lensing, because photography is a hobby of mine. So at least knowing the power of visual, like the visual aspects, and making sure that I had a really good rapport with my DP. I knew that would be super useful. But and in the particular of, you know, these types of shoots, like, you know, you're shooting 8 to 9 pages a day. I had one day, I kid you not, you know what the strips are on the call sheet.
Yeah.
17 strips.
Wow.
17.
Wow.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
I did not make my day, but with the beauty of being able to recreate lighting, I had to get close-ups in another location, which are some of the things that you have to figure out when you have...
That you learn.
Yeah, when you learn. But yeah, knowing that there is a whole wackadoodle of stuff that you don't even know you didn't know. And I was kind to myself in that I called this time lovingly, like, crunchy. I'm like, oh, this is going to be crunchy. It's going to feel crunchy. Like, it's going to feel like uncomfortable, and I'm going to have to push myself in ways and know that I might not have the answer, or like keep pushing through the unknowns and the stresses to have a clear vision, and to rely on even some of my like emotional supports to like bolster myself up, and make sure I meditated for 5 minutes before I walked on set, so I could, you know, confidently lead a group of people into the fray.
Do you? I think back to something Spielberg said. He said, if he's not nervous going on to set, he's like, something, it's not going to be a good day.
Sure.
And because he's realizing, and it's like acting, like he doesn't know how it's gonna If he's going to set, like, I know exactly what I'm going to shoot, I know exactly, then it's not going to be good, but it's already pre-planned.
Yes.
Versus really reading the actor, reading what he may just be seeing visually or lighting or allowing himself to have discoveries. You feel that?
Oh, absolutely. Because there's so many factors that are so completely out of your control. And then you add on top of that, the thing that actually surprised me the most was, being often number one on a call sheet.
Yeah.
We're shielded so much as actors from everything that goes on behind the scenes. Like, we are so shielded. So even the idea of politics on set.
Oh boy.
Between different department heads, and like, I had to work that muscle. That was a huge, like, something that my partner's so good at. He's like, well, Brooke, you're going to have to, the ways in which you have to let your ideas be heard, but also the give and take of ego on set. It's a real thing. You still have to deal with it. And I still had a boss. I still had a producer.
Yes.
So the ways in which you have to make those people happy, and also the gratitude that you need to be out loud and share with your set. Like, thank you everybody for an amazing day. Like, just, growing those muscles.
What was your process like of casting your movie? Because that must be interesting, because you, being a lovely actor, are able to, I'm sure you have an ideal cast.
For sure. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest surprises, especially in this sort of world, is you realize with these movies, they're low budget, but they're still like, they're pre-funded. In many ways, they'll sort of get foreign monies before that to finance the movie, right? And what
was that attached to a specific actor?
Well, it was surprising to me. It was attached to a list. So you would get like a list from casting for your top 3 leads. Or like, these are our sort of pre-approved list of people that we can even audition.
Okay.
And that was a little like, oh, wow. Like, if you don't even have whatever Q rating, like, how do you get on these lists?
How do you get on the list?
It's a little bit of a mystery, honestly, but there were people that were on the list, and so we got to bring those people in to audition. And so we got to pick from, and sometimes people would come in and audition for the lead, and like we'd put them into like a supporting role. Like, oh, well, you're not going to play the lead, but you get to play the best friend. And, so that was a surprise. And, I would watch all the takes and the audition tapes and give my picks, but for these movies, it's not, my number one is considered, but it doesn't mean that I get my top pick.
Would you put them through the paces just to kind of see, okay, I'm detecting something, I want to
give them adjustments, even if they weren't as pertinent as they could be to the script? I wanted to see how they would just, take a what if circumstance and apply it to the material, and how quickly they could do it. And if they were off book, because when you were shooting 8 pages a day and you know that your light is fading, you might only have 2 takes for a close-up, you want to know that they'll be able to deliver.
Yeah, because you guys don't have the luxury of doing take after take after take.
Or to even get overtime. Like, the plug gets pulled because there's no contingency. Like,
so you weren't on a movie like that. You weren't able to bring in anyone. You're like, hey, there's an actor.
No, I did.
Who did you bring?
Well, for this first movie, I got to bring in Brent Bailey.
You did?
Yes!
You did not.
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
Oh my God.
And he was a joy to work with.
Of course he was.
Yes.
He'll just tell me what to do. I'll do anything you want me to do.
That was an offer-only situation. I'm like, I know Brent could totally crush this if he'd like to do it. So.
You're like, sure. Yeah, well. Yeah. Oh my God. So they agreed to that.
Yes.
He's on the cover.
What's that?
He's on the cover of for IMDb.
Yes, he is.
His face is right there.
He is the deadly sugar daddy.
He is. His face is everywhere. That's crazy. And then the editing process. Well, how did directing change your work? Like, all of a sudden, did it change your work at all?
In some ways,
because you could sometimes be sometimes taping, like, you could get obsessive. You want that. You could get really obsessive.
Yes.
In like, let me just see it. Let me just see it.
I'm still trying to let that part of that go.
I remember at one point I was like, I'm not letting you look. I said this like I'm not letting you look at the
It's so hard.
to rewatch
Even
it. Like,
hearing you say that gives me like.
I know. I'm not letting you see it. I'm deciding. We got it. We got it. I had to say no.
I would like to say that it's because I've always had, when you talk about standards or taste, and there's that wonderful quote about, sometimes your taste is going to be up here and you have to wait until your ability and experience and all of that comes
The
up
gap.
to your taste, the gap. And I feel like I'm still always in
Closing
that,
that,
like
yeah.
crunchy space of closing the gap. So I will say that I that still exists, that director brain in me, even when I'm trying to act. I come at those showing on set. I've always been the actor who's like, you're never gonna have to wait for me. Like I'm not like the last person to set when they're like, okay, we're ready. Like that's always been a part of my ethos, my work ethos. But I think it's just given me more, honestly, compassion. And in the ways that, like, not that one of my least generous traits is I don't suffer fools very well.
No,
and
you
so
do
that's
not.
never been, like, even pre-directing, if there was a director who just, wasn't doing what I feel like a director should be able to do, it's hard for me to. So even now, I know what goes into directing, and if I have a bit more compassion for that, and also a little bit more like, oh, well, no, you should know that we're at this point in the story, and this is the moment before, and all that stuff.
It is true that I think even if you have no ambition to direct, you should direct something. Like if you're an actor, you should direct something,
Yes.
write something,
Yeah.
edit something,
Mm-hmm.
do all of it, do the casting, because there's a lack of empathy that often people have for all the different departments.
Yeah.
And like do them all.
Yeah.
So you understand how freaking challenging it is.
I think the other thing that I realized when I was directing, also, when you're an actor and you're so much of getting to be on set it's what I've always worked for. So it's like this really kind of sparkly, fun period where you get to marry your talent with like this wonderful world of make-believe that I always love diving back into. And then you sometimes can forget, though, that these are, like, everyone that surrounds you is going home to a family and has their own personal life going on. And I think, when I was directing, too, and having to manage those energies, I think I had a lot more compassion for the ways in which people are just juggling their lives as well as their jobs.
Yeah.
Like one of my key art director, her dog died, like, a day or two before she had to prep. And I just like gave space for that and was like, we're all dealing with shit. And that's not something you learn
never
in drama
know.
school.
You just never know what's
never
happening in
know.
a person's life.
Yeah.
How, we talk about resilience, and I mean, your partner's pretty resilient too.
Yes.
Resilient too. The industry is certainly a little different right now.
It's in transition. It's in chaos. It's in,
How do you manage?
Well, I will say that I do have the gift of a 15-month-old right now.
I know.
So that is honestly taking up a lot of my time.
Yeah.
And in a way that I'm letting this phase of my life and being very present for it inform who I am as a human and,
Yeah.
the overarching goals of my life right now. So that has been something that's sort of shielded me from the uncertainty of the business.
Yeah.
In the ways that I have branched out to developing and producing. Like I got a movie produced a year ago with Stephanie Black.
Oh my
Which
God.
was wonderful.
The wonder kind. Yeah.
And have gone through some development processes with some other writers. And so I've been in sort of a more story shaping, curating mode for a little bit, while still auditioning and all that. But
How was motherhood? Has that affected your creativity?
I mean, in terms of the time element, it's certainly
the time element.
that's its own thing.
There's something about being mothers often like the level of right brain activity that happens is very high because you're connecting
Yeah.
with a entity that has no left brain.
Yeah. Right.
It's undeveloped.
Yes. Yeah.
So
I would say that I on a daily basis, I am more present than I've ever been. Absolutely. And in the ways that, I thought that maybe, postpartum and all this stuff that like, it would be harder to memorize lines. And actually all those things have become a little bit easier. It's just like you get that work done because you don't have the time. You have to just make choices. And
there's a book. Do you ever read the book Whole Brain Child?
no.
I'll give it to you.
Oh.
But it's great. It's basically saying that we're, all of us have, are born with a certain wiring
Yes.
that we are going to hand to our children.
Yeah.
But like the biggest thing is, it doesn't determine the child's fate. And the big argument is, before raising a child, you better be a better parent to yourself.
Oh, yeah. I have been the kindest to myself. No, it's as a mother than I've ever been in my life.
Really?
Yeah. There's something about the idea of, this. There's a divinity in bringing life to this world, and in all the ways that I think of the, 1,000,001 chances that I get this child, that I get to parent this child, and so there's a little bit of a kindness for all the choices that I've made up until this point because they all led me to Griffin. So there's a bit of a release of the idea of regret or if onlys.
Oh, yeah.
Or what ifs. So that has been lovely. And in the ways that I see this child in front of me and he's so perfect as he is, then it makes me think, oh, well, but then I was that way at one point too.
Mm-hmm.
So why can't I just give that amount of acceptance and kindness to myself, like in a remothering sort of way? So that's been really powerful.
Yeah. Did you have an idea when you got pregnant? Did you think, I want a boy, I want a girl?
Michael and I thought we were having a girl, to the point where we were shocked when we had a little mini gender reveal with our friend and it was a boy. We were like, and I couldn't imagine it any other way now.
Yeah. I was saying, we thought it was going to be a girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very confronting.
Oh, for sure. And Michael was like, how am I going to parent a boy? I don't know sports ball. I was a dancer.
I don't know sports. No, I remember because I kind of had a fraught relationship with my dad, and I remember I really wanted a girl, and then I was like, I want a girl because I wanted like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then when I found out it was a boy, I was like, initially I was like kind of bummed.
Sure, I get that.
And then I was like, no. I get to do it different.
Yeah.
I get to do it different. There's an amount of stuff it brings. It really makes you encounter yourself.
It does. It does, and in a beautiful way. And I'm an older mom, and so I'm very grateful for who I am as a person and the work I've done in myself at this point in my life that informs how I'm parenting now in a way that's so different than if I'd become a mother 10 years ago. I know that for myself. Like, I needed to learn certain lessons, for sure.
I love the idea that you're saying it led you to that moment. All of it. All the wins and losses and all the things. We're going to end soon. But like we were talking earlier about, you're talking about coming to LA. And I'm just seeing this wide-eyed going full circle. And we talk about those like welcome to Hollywood moments.
Yes.
Where you're like, oh, this is it. I'll throw one out. I remember I was... when you're coming, I was in New York, and finally signed with those big people moved here, and I remember going out for the pilot of West Wing.
Oh, yeah.
And I was going out for the role that went to Rob Lowe.
Okay.
And it said in the breakdown, and I knew that I was a little off. It said like the breakdown was like very handsome, like just all this stuff. And I was like, and I really thought I read Bradley Whitford's part. I was still too young for it, no matter what. I was like, I should be like going after that. But anyway, this is what they want to see me for. And I go in to Warner Brothers back in the day when you went on the lot, and John Levy's like the big room. They were the most handsome men I've ever seen in my entire life. No, it was daunting.
Yeah.
30 men with chiseledness and gorgeous hair And I'm like, what the fuck? You never saw that in New York. I've never seen that in New York.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
What is happening? They're all here? I'm never fucking getting this part. But it was liberating. I went in there, I was like, well, I'm not getting this part. And and Sorkin was kind of easy back in that day, so I did a good job. And that got me a job later.
Right, yeah.
But I was like, that was kind of nice to know, like, never going to happen. Ever. You know? I literally was studying a guy in the waiting room going, how are you this genetically possible? What's happening? You know?
Yeah.
I didn't even know people look like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Hollywood. Well,
Hollywood. That was my, like, okay, we're not in Kansas anymore.
Right.
I'm not even from Kansas. I've never been to Kansas, but I'm like, I think I know where the term comes from. Do you ever have one of that, like, where you're like, okay, this, I didn't feel intimidated.
right. No, but
I
it
just
was
went,
just so glaringly obvious that.
this is not, oh, there's a whole other thing this isn't about whether it made me realize it's not good. It made me be very clear. This is not whether you're doing a good job or a bad job.
Right.
Like, there's all these components, because in New York, if I was good, I might get the part.
Yeah.
That's theater.
Yeah.
But I was wondering if you ever had that one, like, okay, this is clarifying a few things.
I mean, you know, it's funny. I would go out for a lot of, you know, the bombshell type. But here's the thing: I think it's a status thing, right? Like, I don't walk into the room with bombshell energy, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would go into audition rooms, and there are women with longer legs and much a different. How
However,
am I going
we're
to get?
defining bombshell. I mean, but I think it's certainly
It's not. It's actually not my casting in that. I am the accessible one. I am the one that, like, I've played a lot of, like, love interests for quirky characters,
Okay.
right?
A grounding force.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would say so.
You're a grounding force.
And so, you know, I've had a lot of those moments, though, of, like, you know, just had to go into any audition for, oh God, what was that HBO show about the actors and his 4 friends? Entourage.
Oh, yeah.
And that always felt a little gross,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
That did not age well.
Yeah, yeah.
That did not age well.
Or even anger management.
Oh, right. I have to say, there's still so many. I feel like you're still aging into so many amazing things.
I will say that a part of me feels like my best work is yet to come.
Yeah.
And in the ways that I haven't quite caught up to my real age yet.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I'll never forget when I come close to some things in my later 20s, and I tested for something. I didn't get it, and I had one feedback that was like, oh my God, they loved you, nothing's happening. And I was really just, again, I went dark.
Sure.
And I'll never forget, Ro Diamond, I was my age, she was at STB, and she calls me up, and she's like, John, listen, you're doing really good work. She's like, it may take well into your 30s. And as I'm sitting
And you
there
were like
poor,
22 at the time?
I'm like 28,
Oh.
27, and I'm like, I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
I don't have time for that. She's like, or just your 30s. Just like, wait till your 30s. And I'm like, you're telling me to wait? I'm like, But I'll never forget, I got like a show, like at the exact timetable that she said.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay. But I still agree. If I had been more patient, it's like all of a sudden it's we evolve, we change, we
Yes.
shift,
Yeah.
we, and I think that is true. You're not cerebrally the bombshell. That's not your,
No.
that's not your, who
And
you.
I moved beyond ingenue, so we know that that's. But so it's interesting. It will be interesting the next casting journey in terms of where it ends up.
It must be, though, I'm sure, listen, being partnered with a person who's also a creative.
Yes.
And that has its, I'm sure that has there's great parts of it. I'm sure there's also it has challenges because they're both in the same. You're both in the same.
I mean, in terms of our rapport and our ability to talk about creative projects, that's great. It's just the pragmatic, like, it's hard to plan life.
It's very hard to plan
we're
life.
both, creatives. Yeah.
Well, no, but I think it's really interesting. I remember, but a lot of amount of empathy. I think I remember when my mother said to me when I was struggling, it was so awful. She's like, "I wish you would just be a therapist," because she just couldn't stand me going through the pain.
Yeah.
She couldn't stand the pain. She couldn't stand
The roller coaster.
The roller coaster. So I bet you both are. It's about keeping each other.
Just both grounded and
Grounded.
I mean, we're both our biggest fans, right? So
I know.
We have such faith in one another, and so to have that individually and then faith in us as a couple, it's an important aspect of that resilience piece for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything that, what is the thing right now that you really want to? What's the thing that you really want to do right now?
I really want to roll the dice on getting my own creative project off the ground.
Okay.
Yeah.
Meaning what?
Oh, a pitch based on a seed of like an autobiographical seed of my story that then gets magnified by comedy and by a host of other characters. But I want to get that out into the world.
And you want that to be a feature?
No, I want it to be a television.
You want it to be a television show. Yeah. In an ideal world, where would it air?
Well, it would. Like what platform?
Yeah.
I would say Netflix.
Netflix.
Yeah.
Okay, we're manifesting it here. Okay, I'm excited for this. This has been a pleasure to sit with you.
Thank you, John. This has been really lovely.
You're lovely.
You're lovely.
You're lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.